of parties before I can then say this is the punishment that ought to be applied. As it is now, the situation is a little bit cloudy. There are accusations and counter-accusations, but what is clear is that judges were assaulted. In what circumstances those judges were assaulted remains unclear. And I think we need to investigate that scenario because it's something that is reprehensible, something that is condemnable, something that appears unheard of, and if it is not investigated and punished, it could occur again and it will serve as a dangerous precedent.
How then do we avoid a reoccurrence?
To avoid a reoccurrence of that, I think we need to invest on the safety and security of our courts, on the safety and security of our judicial personnel. We need to intensify surveillance around court premises. We need to insist on intelligence surveillance. We need to also insist on signals surveillance. We need also to insist on the fact that our courts at various levels must be serviced by TV cameras, CTV cameras, to be able to capture, what is going on in the court premises. So the question we need to ask ourselves is what facilities we have on ground now, in terms of on the hardware side. What facilities do we have on ground? On the software side, what facilities do we have on ground? Or except we have adequate, security, intelligent devices to address the safety and security of our judges, our judiciary may be endangered.
Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria are on strike again, and this time they're asking for the same thing, financial autonomy for the judiciary. Why has the financial autonomy that was agreed upon last year, why has it not been implemented?
Well, first of all, I think we must appreciate the fact that without autonomy of the judiciary, without financial independence of the judiciary, our judiciary will not be in a position to play its role effectively as an arbiter. And then that will also endanger our democratic process. When we are talking of financial autonomy for the judiciary, it has a lot of implications. We are saying that the judiciary should not depend on the executive and the legislature for its funding. As a matter of fact, the judiciary should be funded based on first-line charge. If you look at Section 87, subsection 7 of the Constitution, it says that the funding of the judiciary ought to be on the basis of first-line charge. In other words, the judiciary should prepare its own budget because if you look at the requirement that the president should lay his budget before the National Assembly only applies to expenditure and income relating to the president, the executive. It should not apply to expenditure and income relating to the legislature, because only the legislature and the judiciary will appreciate the magnitude of obligations that they need to service. So as it is now, I'm happy that the legislature, the National Assembly, appears to have taken a cue from Section 87, subsection 7, by preparing its own budget. So what they do right now is to wait for the executive to prepare their own budgetary estimates. And when such budgetary estimates are prepared and sent to the National Assembly, the National Assembly will then prepare their own budgets too, and they now add it. The judiciary too will prepare its own budget, and it will be added together, and before we can then arrive at a budgetary estimate for the year. And if that is done, the judiciary will be in a position to prepare its own So his own budgetary, expenses. The present situation whereby the judiciary has to access its funds through the budget office in the office of the Minister of Finance is unacceptable. They should be able to prepare their own budget, determine what their income will be, determine the level of the expenditure in line with the requirement of Section 87 or Section 7 of the Constitution, which stipulates that the funding of the judiciary should be on the basis of first line charge.
Right, so that means the strike by judiciary staff workers is acceptable?
The strike by judiciary, when you talk of the administration of justice, you are not just concerned with judicial officers alone. There's no judge who can function effectively without the support of judiciary staff, like registrars and court clerks, bailiffs and all that. All of these elements combine together to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency of the judiciary. So necessarily, you must address the issues of their welfare. As you are taking care of judges, you must also take care of judicial officers. Otherwise, the administration of justice system can be grounded to a halt. So I think maybe the Constitution has not adequately addressed the yearning and aspiration of the judicial officers. We might need to sponsor a bill to specifically address this, because it has been a recurring decimal. You find judiciary workers down in tools all the time, leading to closure of courts and all that, with adverse consequences on justice delivery system. This must stop in 2015.
If you were to rate the outgone Chief Justice of Nigeria, how would you think she performed, or how would you say she performed?
I would score her about 95% in terms of what she brought to the table. I see her as a pride to womanhood, a woman of extreme valor, very incorruptible, and daring in terms of reforms. Her period was short, but effective. I think that is why I think what the lesson to learn from our tenure is that we need to devise a system that will allow the Chief Justice of the Federation to be in office at least for 7 years, to be able to bring forward meaningful reforms and then sustain such reforms. But I'm happy that the person who has also taken over, Justice Mohammed Mahmood, is also a man of high integrity.
2015 is election year. How prepared is the judiciary?
It will interest you to know that within the rank and file of judiciary are some of the best materials. Because the system, even in some states, particularly Lagos State, you don't get appointed to the judiciary without being subjected to the rigorous, examination in terms of aptitude test. The appointing procedure is so rigorous. And that is also applicable in other states of the Federation. So if I want to answer your question directly, I would say the judiciary is effectively prepared. But that is not saying that we do not have some bad eggs. The challenge is how to sustain judicial integrity and to forestall any form of corrupt practices through a system of checks and balances. But on the sense of balance, I think judiciary is effectively prepared as we approach the election year to discharge its functions without fear or favor.
With all the discussions, it appears there is a need for all the courts in all of the states to be up and running. But with this ongoing strike by the judiciary workers, the functionality of the judiciary becomes a source of concern for everyone. And that's it for us today. Thank you for being a part of the program. My name is Victoria Ido. I'm willing to hear from you. Please send in your comments to the addresses on your screen. It's bye for now.